Hello, everybody. How are you, bright lights? I hope you are all well. My name is Laura Rudenkowski, and I'm an international life and relationship coach. And I coach in English, Spanish, Finnish, and Italian. And I'm so excited to be doing this video series. I'm interviewing amazing people all over the world that have so many resources and so many tools to help you, live your best life possible and to awaken you to your true potential. That's what this series is called, and that's what we aim to do here. And this is our premiere week. So it's a very special week, and because we're premiering this week, we're launching 3 videos this week. And then starting next week, we're going to launch a video every Friday. We're going to have a new episode. So watch out for that, because I have so many amazing guests lined up with so much information and so many amazing tools to share with all of you. So my guest today, I'm so excited to have my guest today. My guest today is Kathy Yannucci. And I've known Kathy for a very long time. we go way back. I used to live in Miami, and Kathy used to live in Miami, and she still lives in Florida. I miss the Florida sunshine. And Kathy is multilingual and multi-talented. Kathy is a clinical Ayurvedic specialist, and she's a health and wellness coach, and she's also a yoga teacher. So she is multi-talented and an amazing holistic therapist. So you're very welcome, Kathy. You're very welcome to the show today.
Thank you. It's so exciting to be here, Laura. I'm super happy to be partnering up with you on this venture.
Yeah, I'm so excited, about doing this together, Kathy. And like when I thought about doing this interview with you, I thought, way back in 2005, way back in 2005, we were both in Cartagena, Colombia. Your sister, who's a very good friend of mine, got married in Cartagena, Colombia. And I've been to weddings all over the world, but your sister's wedding, wow, your sister's wedding is definitely at the top of one of the most amazing weddings that I've been to. I mean, it was 5 days of celebrations in Cartagena. I mean, I felt like I was in a movie. Like it was so amazing. And then there was a very special moment that you and I shared in Cartagena. There was one day that we were going to a beautiful island where we spent the whole day, and you and I were on a boat, right? We were on a boat on our way to this island. And at the time, we both had corporate jobs, right? And we were talking, and we had this conversation where we were both talking about, like I would like to do something more holistic. Like we were both talking about doing something more holistic, and we both wanted to help people. We both wanted to help people, and we both wanted to make a difference in the world, And then I remember specifically, I can still picture you. I can still picture you on this boat, Kathy. I remember specifically, we both looked at each other and we reassured each other, and we're like, yeah, you know what? We will find that thing. Like we will find the way, we will find the therapy that resonates with us, and we will find a way, to help people. And look at us now.
Look at us now. I was just going to say, look at us now, manifesting those dreams.
Exactly. But I just think it's such a symbolic story, because imagine it was on that boat ride in Cartagena, back in the summer of 2005, it sounds like a song. Back in the summer of 2005, it's like our journeys together, began in the summer of 2005. And here we are, June 2021.
Crazy.
Yeah, manifesting so many amazing things, into our lives, and having this interview together. So yeah, my God, Kathy, you're so multi-talented, and you just have so much knowledge. And the title of our interview today is The Language of Love Through the Ancient Practices of Ayurveda. I mean, my God, talk about a cool title. Can you expand a little bit more on that?
Yeah. Well, when you asked me, Laura, to be a guest on your show, I was super excited because I think, I've done partnerships with other people before and they're always special, but especially when there was someone that you've known for a long time.
Yeah.
And so I was like, yay, let's do this. But, the title, it was a nice way to think about how our work comes together. Because as you are a relationship coach, part of what I do is work on that self-love that starts first, and how to
Yes.
find those self-care rituals, make time for yourself first, basically fill your own cup so that you
Yes.
can go and now create these deep relationships. So I feel like I can nurture through, I can nurture my clients through the things that I do and then send them off to you to find relationships, right?
Yeah, I love
But
it. I love it.
yeah.
Yes, I love
So
that.
it's just really important. I think a lot of people sometimes, as you probably know in your experience, people wonder sometimes why they're not in the right relationships or why they have these long relationships that don't work out. Like, what's really the foundation? What is not kind of holding it together? And a lot of the time in my experience, and I'm sure probably in yours too, that people go into these relationships, giving so much of themselves in these
Mm.
relationships, whether it's with their family, with their children, with their partners, spouses, boyfriends, girlfriends, whatever it is. And they don't take care of themselves first.
Yes, that is
And then they're
key.
constant,
Yeah.
yeah. And so they're constantly giving, 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 and not really, it's almost easier for us as a society to give. It's so much easier for us to give. It's so hard for us to receive.
Yes.
And so when we worked on this title together, The Language of Love, it's basically about finding what that language of love is for you, to find time for your self-care and what that can look like. And we'll talk a little bit more in this interview about what 3 things you can focus on to keep it pretty simple and practical so that you can start
Yes.
working on that relationship with yourself first
Yes.
before you go on trying to find like a deep connection with someone else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And I mean, I talk, my God, I talk about, that self-love and that self-acceptance. I mean, I sound like a broken record because I talk
Yeah.
about it. I talk about it so much, but in a way, it's the most it sounds like the most basic thing, right? And it sounds
Mhm.
like it would be, the most, you know, like it sounds like something that would be so obvious to people, but it's not. I think that, self-love is it's the most important thing that we all need to do on a daily basis. Like we all need
Yep.
to work on it on a daily basis. But at the same time, it can be the hardest thing to, like, for many
Mhm.
people, right?
Yeah.
Because people can be so incredibly hard on themselves. They beat themselves up over things, when things don't go, like when things don't go their way, when there's problems and challenges. And of course, and it's funny because, when you have challenges in life, that's when it's the most important to love yourself, right? And then
Yes.
also it's the time when it's the hardest to love yourself, right?
Yes.
even
Yes.
even when you
So
think
true.
about a breakup, right? When people are going through
Mhm.
breakups, like the last thing that they're thinking about is self-love, right? They're like, ah, why
Yep.
did this happen to me? They go into victim mentality, or, this
Mhm.
is so unfair, and all of this, right? So that's when it's the most important to love yourself, right? But I
Mhm.
mean, it's a practice that we all need to work on every single day. And like you
Yep.
said, like it's so important, to, you need to fill your own tanks or your own cup, whatever, whatever works for you. If you
Mhm.
want to think of them as tanks, if you want to think of it as a cup, because you can only give when your tank or your cup is full, right? You can't
Yep.
give like from an empty tank or cup, right? And I think that that's something really, really important that people forget. And especially, women and mothers, right? Because mothers
Mhm.
are always giving so much and always, taking care of the family, taking care of the kids, taking care of like the husbands, the parents, everybody, right? So
Yep.
I think that
Yeah.
specifically for women, I think it's really, really important, that to like reiterate like how important it is that you need to nurture yourself first.
Absolutely. And that's
Yeah.
what why I fell in love with Ayurveda. I am a mom of two. And, definitely in the beginning when I was a first time mom, it was like all about them all the
Yeah.
time. And I was just tired and
Yeah.
exhausted all the time. And sometimes kind of grouchy and irritated because I didn't have time for me. And
Yeah.
through learning about Ayurveda, it just totally changed things around because it's, it's an ancient science that is really practical.
Yes.
Sometimes we make it so complex, like, okay, we look at all these complicated diets, and how do we lose weight and how do we get in shape? Or we look at exercises that tend to be really complicated. We don't stick to it. But Ayurveda really is, it's such an ancient foundation and so practical that
Yeah.
basically it's just setting up, routines, rituals with yourself of things that you are actually going to enjoy, because when you enjoy them, you actually stick to them. If you don't
Yes.
enjoy them, you're not going to stick to them. And so it's not about like doing this for just a little while. It's about how can you create, a sustained, healthy, loving relationship with yourself and with those around you by taking care of yourself first.
Definitely. Definitely. That's the key, right? That's the key. And I know that, one person that we have in common, we have like all these connections, we have the connection with your sister. And then
Yeah.
another person that connects us is Deepak Chopra, right?
Yes. Yes.
We have the
Yeah.
Deepak Chopra connection. And it's
Yeah.
amazing, that you're an Ayurveda, specialist. And the first time that I heard about Ayurveda was through Deepak Chopra. I did seduction of spirit with him, which was an amazing experience, because it was 500 people from around the world that came to Dublin, and we meditated for a week
Mhm.
together, and it was a life-changing experience, and
Yeah.
and it's amazing because when I see him, he actually remembers me. Like, he remembers me because I did the Alliance for New Humanity with him as well. Like, I did a lot of different things with,
Mhm.
with Deepak, as I
Mhm.
as I call him. But it's amazing that now, you're connected to Deepak Chopra and the Chopra Center, as
Mhm.
well, with
Yeah.
you, because you do so many different things. And yeah, Ayurveda is amazing, and it's all about bringing the body to balance in all ways, right?
Mhm.
Like,
Yep.
mind, body, spirit, right? Because
Mhm.
that's one thing that I really like about Ayurveda, is that Ayurveda looks at everything together, right?
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
mind, body, and spirit. Because when you go to a Western doctor, whatever ailment you have, they just look at that. Then they forget about the
Mhm.
rest of the body, right? They don't look at you holistically, right?
Right.
That's why, that's
Yeah,
why
that's
it's
where I
great to
say,
be. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, that's where I say Ayurveda is very comprehensive. It's
Yes.
having, one person look at you from every aspect, like you said, mind, body, spirit. And you can't really detach those. They're not separate. They're
Yes.
together. So you can't work on the mind without affecting the body, or you can't work on the body without affecting the mind or the spirit. So when you work
Definitely.
on it in this holistic, comprehensive way, it's actually more powerful. There's
Yes.
deeper healing that happens from that for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I remember one thing that I found fascinating when I was, like, learning about Ayurveda, from Deepak Chopra, was when he talked about, being a kapha, being a
Mhm.
kapha, or being a pita or a vata. I was
Pitta
like,
or Vata,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. I was like, wow. And then I remember like when we did seduction of spirit, we would go around saying to people like, "What's your dosha, baby?"
Yep, yep,
Like, what's your
exactly. Yeah.
what's your dosha, baby? And I think there
And
was
that's
even a
what's,
song of what's your dosha,
yeah.
baby.
And that's
Yeah.
what's incredible about Ayurveda and why it is so different from other things, because it basically gives you like foods that are best for your specific constitution, for your
Yes.
specific personality. It gives you rituals of self-care specific to your dosha or Ayurvedic
Yeah.
personality, what I like to call it. So it's
Yes.
not the same diet for everyone. It's not a one size fits all kind of, it's not
Yes.
like, you go on one diet and it's like that diet is works for everybody. No, it's very
Yes.
specific to each constitution, which is why it works so
Yes.
well.
Yes.
And even all these rituals and the herbs, all of that are so specific. It's very, very customized, and it's really
Yeah.
special in that way. Really, really
Yeah.
special in that way.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And when you work with somebody one to one, like, do you design a special program for that person depending on,
Mhm.
what their dosha is, and, all their
Yeah.
details?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do a first initial consultation, which is about 2 hours long.
Right.
And which is more time than most people, right? Most people spend with you on a consultation.
Yeah.
And so I look at everything. I look at your, all your medical history. I look at how you're eating already, what kind of foods you're eating. What are your routines like? When do you wake up in the morning? What time do you go to
Mm,
bed? What time do you eat lunch? What time do you eat dinner? I look at, any digestive complications you might be having, any sleep disturbances you might be having. What is
yes.
your stress like? What does it look like? How do we describe? I look at everything. And then I look at physical characteristics too, because
Right.
all of that gives me all the information to know what your Ayurvedic constitution is.
Yes.
And then based on that, I notice what are the imbalances. And then I start
Mm,
to develop a program to start working on those balances, right? To bring you back
yeah.
to like homeostasis. And that does include a food program that is specific to your constitution to balance you out. It might include also some digestive herbs and then certain rituals that will
Yeah.
help you as well. Certain self-care rituals like,
Mm.
self massage or, the neti pot, so it's just,
Yeah.
it's simple, really beautiful things. But a lot of the practices, a lot of the self-care practices are things that a lot of people might not even be familiar with at first. So I give them a lot of education. So I do work
Yeah.
with women one to one, but I also work with women in wellness programs, like 6 month long group programs, because I've
Right.
also, Laura, when you're going through a lot of this transformation, right? It helps to
Yes.
have a community of people who get it,
Definitely.
like-minded individuals, and so that
Yes.
support you on the path instead of you
Yes.
being on this island alone, kind of figuring it out on your own. And so
Yeah.
it helps for the accountability of holding yourself true to the goals you
Yeah.
wanted to do, work on to begin with.
Hmm.
And that's one of my favorite ways to work is in these group programs that I do now. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I definitely agree with the group programs. I mean, I run group programs as well. And
Mhm.
it's amazing when the energy in a group, right?
Yes.
The energy, the support that you get in the group, everybody helps each other out. Everybody
Mhm.
learns from each other. And yeah, it becomes like a little family. It
Yes.
becomes, yeah, it becomes like your little family. And I think that that's so important. That's
Mhm.
so important. And especially, for people, now that we've all been through this pandemic and all the lockdowns, and people have felt incredibly isolated in
Mhm.
so many ways. So I think that it's so important, to create different kinds of communities, right? To
Yes.
create different kinds of communities, different kinds of groups, because people really need that support. People really
Yeah.
need, yeah, need that support, and more than
Mhm.
ever, more than ever,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think
Yeah.
one of the positives, and there's lots of positives that have come out of this pandemic, but I do think one of them is for, even businesses like ours, that
Yes.
where before we would see people only locally, now our message, we can spread it across wider, right? We can cast a wider net because now we can have clients, from Europe or from South America, from the
Yeah.
US, from Africa, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You can still, coach them in these group programs,
Mm.
via Zoom, kind of like we're, doing now. And then,
Yeah.
seeing people all over the world and not just in one specific place. So it's definitely gives us a medium for broadening our reach too, and helping
Yeah.
more people and supporting more people. So that's really a great positive, I think, that came from the pandemic.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I totally agree with
Mhm.
you. And this idea of doing this interview series came to
Mhm.
me just, because of that. I know so many amazing people all over the world, that
Mhm.
have so much knowledge, and are full of tools and resources to help people now, right? Like to
Mhm.
help people, get to the other side of the pandemic, or as we think about, what is that new earth going to look like, right? Because life will never be the way that it was, before the
Mhm.
pandemic, right? Like we
Mhm.
live in a new world. and
Yes.
and I mean, there are people that want things to go back to how they were before, but that's not going to happen. Like, life will
No.
never be the way that
Mm-mm.
it used to be. So now all of us need to think about, what kind of world do I want to create? What kind of world do I want to live in, right? and
Mhm.
and every day, we need to do things to create that world, right? For
Mhm.
ourselves, and for the world at large, right?
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
to
and
have, yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
And when you mentioned that too, you know, about helping the world and creating a new world, it has
Yes.
to start with you, right? It starts with
Yes.
us. You know,
Yes.
that's the first person that we can influence is ourselves. And
Exactly. And
from
yeah,
from
yeah,
that, we then
yeah.
expand it into our families at home. Then it
Yes.
goes into your wider net of your neighborhoods or your, you know, your colleagues, your friends outside of the home, and then into, you know, the
Yes.
rest of the world. So it really foundational, it starts with you. That's where you make
Yeah.
the first change, and then it just ripples from there.
Exactly. And like I always say, everything begins and ends with you.
Yep.
You know,
Ain't
everything,
that the
like, you
truth?
can't get away from yourself. You can't get away. You can try, but no,
Yeah.
you can't get away from yourself. And it's funny because, you know, sometimes I hear of people like, oh, well, if I move to another city, you know, I'll be happier. And I'm like, you know what? Wherever you go, you take yourself there.
Yeah, it's
You
so
know what?
true.
Wherever,
Yep.
like wherever you go, there you are, right? So
Hmm.
it's about finding that inner happiness and that inner stability within yourself, right? Like no matter
Hmm.
where you are, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's key. That's key. You know, it's like, yeah, if I lived somewhere else, I'd be happy. Okay, well, it's not the place
Give
that
it a
makes you
try and
happy. Yeah,
see.
exactly. Let me
Yeah.
know how it goes, you know.
Yeah.
It's not the place. It's how you feel inside, right? It's that
Hmm.
inner happiness and it's that inner strength, you know, that you develop inside. And then, what would you say, Kathy? Like when you would think, if you think of three things that we need to
Hmm.
focus on, right? If you think on
Hmm.
what would be like your top three things to focus on, you know, to help us, you know, achieve more balance in our lives?
Yeah. Well, when you say three things, first of all, I love that number. I think that's such a magical number. It's like the Trinity, right? But
Yes, yes.
so you know, within Ayurveda, we always talk about the three pillars of health, and they are your food, your sleep, and love, your relationships. So when
Yes.
you start to bring those into balance, you'll find more joy, you know, you'll find more authenticity in yourself, you'll find more balance, more stability. And so from an Ayurvedic perspective, you know, food is the most foundational one, you know,
Mm,
because how we nourish ourselves is so important. It takes care of so much healing already, you know, right from the beginning. But from an Ayurvedic perspective, you know, like I mentioned before, the diet is customized. So it's about finding the right foods for yourself. You know, what are the foods that nourish you, that help you feel grounded, but help you feel energized. And so, you know, obviously finding the right food program for yourself from an Ayurvedic perspective, you would find out with an Ayurvedic, you know, practitioner or holistic health practitioner.
mm,
So I would say that would be one of the first things. And you know, in Ayurveda, I always tell my clients too, it's not just what you eat, but it's also how you eat. So many of us are always in a rush. We're eating in the car, we're eating in 2 minutes, 5 minutes, we're not taking lunch
mm.
breaks, we're eating late at night, we're eating in the middle of an argument or while watching a violent TV show. You know, it's also so important. Like you can eat, you know, I
Yeah.
tell my clients all the time, you can eat a bowl of the most fresh, organic, steamed vegetables, and it can be delicious and feel so nutritious and healthy. But then if you're eating it while you're arguing with your spouse or while you're in, you know, fighting with your kids or watching a really violent TV show, like you're gonna
Yeah.
have indigestion. That's just what's gonna happen. So
Yeah.
when we talk about food in Ayurveda, it's again a customized diet that helps to balance your constitution, and also how you're eating is setting up the right environment to digest that food properly.
Yeah.
When we talk about sleep, you know, everyone needs rest. That's another one that we just think like, oh, rest is a luxury, and it's not. It's actually a necessity. You know, we have
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
much stress going on all the time. We, you know, we're going all the time, and we just never allow our minds to rest, our nervous system to take a chill. We don't allow our bodies to rest. So, you know, getting enough sleep every night is super important. And, you know, like if you wake up every morning where you're having a hard time getting out of bed, where you're feeling tired or unmotivated to start the day, or where you're sleeping in all the time, well, that's going to tell you that you're sleep deprived. You're not getting enough sleep. And
Yes.
you probably know, I mean, like I know when I don't get enough sleep, like I'm not really the nicest person. I'm kind of grouchy,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I don't
you
have
can,
a lot of
yeah,
energy.
yeah, you can
So,
get grumpy and grouchy. And what would you say, how many hours is ideal to get for sleep?
8 hours is ideal, but in Ayurveda, we like to recommend that people go to bed by 10 o'clock. You know,
Mm.
in the summer, maybe 11 the latest because the sun goes, you know, down a
Yeah.
little bit later. But 10
Yeah.
o'clock is a good time so that you're waking up by 6 a.m. Because once
Yes.
you start waking up past 6 a.m., then you're falling into that sleepy time again. And like it's
Yes.
just harder. You know, have you ever felt like when you sleep in, you actually feel more tired?
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
it's kind of
Yes.
like that. So
Yeah.
if you go to bed by 10, you wake up by 6, you know, I mean, every morning, like I wouldn't say I'm like perfect at the sleep thing, you know, especially now in the summer, my kids want to
Uh,
go to bed late, we're watching
yeah.
movies together, you know, so I
Yeah.
make, you know,
You
adjustments
make
here and
adjustments. You're
there.
flexible. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I know, like, for me, you know, I love waking up 6 a.m., 7 a.m. in the summers, you know, and I have like a whole routine in the morning for my self-care. I meditate, I do my breath practices, I practice yoga, I go for a walk, and like I wouldn't be able to do all of that, like, you know, into my day. I would never work. I would be doing
Uh,
just that if I didn't start my
Yeah.
day.
Yeah. Of
So
course.
yeah,
Yeah.
so we like to recommend, you know, being in bed by 10, waking up by 6, you know, 7 o'clock the latest.
Yeah.
And that's really good. And then for the third pillar, it's love, relationships.
Mm.
And when we, you know, it's like if you eat well and nourish yourself, you're able to sleep better. And then when you sleep better and you're in a good mood and your hormones are balanced, all of that, then you're actually, you know, a nicer person and you're able to have better relationships, you know. But with
Yeah.
relationships, and this is probably something you can go into deeper, Laura, because this is your specialty with relationships, is,
Yeah.
you know, when we think about relationships, I think for a lot of the time when we're going through these transformations of, you know, being more true to ourselves, making changes in how we eat, making changes in our life to really feel better, a
Mm.
lot of those relationships sometimes don't match up with what's going on that you're trying to create in your life. So when
Yes.
I talk about relationships, it's about, you know, even realizing what relationships are no longer serving you and what
Yeah.
relationships are going to support you. Right. And
Yes.
so, you know, one thing that I've noticed that happens with my clients when they do take the time finally to do things for themselves is that their relationships actually get better. And then
Mm.
some relationships go away
Yeah. Some
because
relationships end.
now,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and it's
Yeah.
okay. It's okay
Yeah.
because there's relationships like what they say, you know, something people are around for a season, a reason,
Yeah.
whatever that saying goes,
Yeah.
you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
so yeah, so as you're evolving, as you're transforming, as you're growing, there's just going to be some relationships that are going to end
Yes.
because they're no longer serve you, you know, and then the
Yes.
quality of your relationships are better and there's a deeper connection with those relationships, which also brings you joy and peace, right?
Yeah.
When you're in the right
Yeah.
relationships. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, it's fascinating because one thing that I always say about relationships is that, you know, the two people in a relationship grow and evolve constantly, right? Because we're constantly
Mhm.
growing and evolving, like in some way, right? So the two people grow and evolve, and then the relationship grows and evolves as well, right? Sometimes you grow and evolve together, and sometimes you grow and evolve apart. That's just part of
Mhm.
life, right? That's just part of
Yep.
life. And I think that one thing that's really important and of course can be challenging is to be true to yourself, and be honest with yourself and with your partner as well, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So but yeah, many times when we go through big transformations, big energetic transformations, like somebody, starting an Ayurveda program. I mean, yeah, that's huge transformation on all levels, right? Like you're
Mhm.
transforming mind, body, and spirit. And as you say, it's like you do the inner work first and then your external
Yep.
world changes, right? And
Yep.
that
Yep.
that's the way that any change comes about, right? First we have to do the inner
Yes.
work, and then the
Yep.
outer world changes, because many times people are trying to change the outer world without doing the inner work first, and then they wonder why things don't change, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. And
it always starts inside. Yeah.
And I always, you know, I like to share this story because this is like what I think about so powerful when I think about this work of Ayurveda and when I think about the work that you're doing with relationships and with starting with yourself first is I had a client not too long ago who, you know, joined my 6 month program and
Hmm.
she was just wanting to learn more and really didn't think that she had like any symptoms or any conditions. She found herself to be pretty healthy. And so, but she was just she heard my talks on Ayurveda and got super motivated and just wanted to do it. And so she went ahead and enrolled in my program. And
Mm.
as I worked with her over the few months, we got to know each other better, and she started to open up more about how, in January, she was like about to like really in a point of deciding like if she stays married or not,
Okay.
after like
Yeah.
many years of being married and just kind of wanting like out, like she was
Yeah.
done, complaining all the time about her partner and just not happy. And
Yeah.
through working through her food, her sleep, all these beautiful rituals, really learning to love herself in a different way, accepting herself for who she is, she's
Mm.
like, Kathy, you've like changed my relationship. And it was just something that came out of not even ever thinking that was going to be the outcome. Right. She
Right.
started with
Yeah.
her goal was to lose weight. That's all it was. It was to lose
Okay.
weight. And through losing weight, she now is like, my relationship is amazing. Like just
Wow.
from being in an Ayurveda program, So it's like all these little practical shifts that we do for our life. We don't
Yes.
realize what an impact it can have
Yeah.
in our relationships. We think they have nothing to do with it,
Yeah.
but
Right.
they
Right.
really do. They really do have a lot to do with
Yeah.
it.
Everything is connected, right? Everything is
Yep.
connected. And that's why when you start making these changes, when you start, making these internal changes and energetic changes, mind, body, and spirit, literally your whole life changes, right? Your whole life
Mhm.
changes. I mean, first you do the internal changes, and then your relationships change, your relationships
Mhm.
get better, or else, like you said, sometimes, the people that are not aligned with you anymore, they fall away, and then new people come in, because always whatever you have in your life is what's aligning to you at the moment, right? So if you
Mhm.
want to, if you want to change something in your life, you have to work on yourself and the type of energy, right? The type of
Yep.
energy that you're aligning with, right? So I mean, one thing that I love talking about from the law, from the law of attraction, is that what whenever you want to manifest something into your life, it's like you have to align to that energy, right? Like you
Mhm.
have to feel like you're already there, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
even like if you want to manifest a relationship, which is what I work with a lot with my clients, is you need to feel like you're already in that relationship, right? And
Yes.
it might sound a little crazy because people are like, but I'm not in a relationship. What do you mean, right? But it's like you need to like use all your senses, like what will you see, what will you hear, what will you feel, what will you touch, what will you taste, what will you smell. And when you literally step into that reality, then it's then you're attracting it into your reality, right? You're creating your
Mhm.
reality that way, right? So I mean, there's so many different tools that can be
Yeah.
used to manifest amazing things into our lives. But it always starts inside. It always starts
Mhm.
inside, and that's key.
Yeah.
That's so key. So then, um, so yeah, so the three main pillars, are food, sleep, and relationships, right?
Food, sleep, and relationships. And when again going back to
Yeah.
our title of the language of love, it's basically creating a relationship with your food, creating
Yes.
a relationship with your rest, and creating a relationship, with yourself and with everything really and everyone.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all about relationship. In the end,
It's
it's all
all
about
about
creating relationship.
relationships. Exactly. That's why, like,
Yep.
when I get asked all the time, like, why do you do relationship coaching? Because, life is about
Yep.
relationships. Like,
It is.
you have like your relationships with your parents, like with your partner, with your friends, with your work colleagues. I mean, yeah, like
Mhm.
yeah, life is relationships, right? And of course, the
Yeah,
most important one is the one that you have with yourself, right? That's where
absolutely.
that's where everything, begins and
Begins.
ends. Yeah, yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kathy. I could literally, I think we could talk forever. I mean, we could stay here talking for hours, because we just have so much to talk about, and we're so
Mhm.
aligned and so connected, and we've known each other for such a long time. So thank you so much for coming and sharing all your amazing knowledge. And how can people find you? How can people find you?
Well,
Yeah.
first I want to say thank you so much for bringing me as a guest, Laura. It was a pleasure and an honor to be here with you and all your followers. And the way you can connect with me if you're interested in learning more about Ayurveda is by going to my website, which is Kasa Yoga, and it's KASA Yoga, YOGA.com. And I'm also going to be teaching a free 5-day workshop. So if anyone is interested in that too, that's also on my website. You would just hit kasayoga.com/workshops. And if you want to learn more about these 3 pillars and how to start working on those relationships too. So yeah.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you so much, Kathy. It's been an absolute honor to have you, to have you on the show today. And it would be so great, the next time I go to Florida, it would be great to do, to do an event together. I can totally see us doing like an event or a workshop together,
I would love that.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. We'll do a couples retreat. I think that's what we talked about. We do like a couples retreat.
Oh yeah, that would be amazing. Like I think, because yesterday, with my other guest, Jovanka, she lives in Miami. So we were talking about, doing an event in Miami together. So yeah, I think I need to go to Florida in 2022.
Soon.
Florida is calling me.
It is. I'll hold you to it.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Thank you so much, Kathy. And thank you to everybody for watching the show today. I hope that you got really inspired and you have a lot of food for thought, of how to put these amazing Ayurvedic practices, into use. And don't forget to comment. We'd like to hear your questions, your comments. You can leave a comment here, or you can also get in touch with me. You can send me an email to lauracoaching@gmail.com. And my website is laurarudenkoski.com. So don't forget to tune in every Friday. Every Friday, we're going to be launching a new episode, and I have some amazing speakers lined up with lots of knowledge for you to wake up to your true potential. So be well, bright lights, stay happy and stay positive. And I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.